They're up and down. They're up and down. Down. Lost where they are.
And I'll turn the camera around. Let me start the meeting.
Yeah, the camera's on.
Full.
Still working on the solar course.
That's neat.
Yes, I wanted to say.
That's fun.
Are you getting it?
Great shape with the shape on it. I saw Dubin yesterday. They said he said the same thing. How proud he is of you. Thank you. I haven't seen, well, I guess a month ago.
What's your subject matter?
You think it's just as good.
Yeah, really. Say what it is.
I've not lived there before, but I've got a lot of time. My brother lived around Venice. It's really good. Not there, north of there, like Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, a lot of so I'm looking forward to that. County Valley and stuff. So I'm planning to come back down like December. See, hello. Couldn't get in the hotel.
We're not.
Yeah, you got 80 registrants from now. So I said the logistics is going to be great.
I'm excited for it. It changes and you really. How long will it take? But it also was not steaming hot 9 months ago. I'm gonna say, I just don't.
Right now.
I don't know if something happened. Camera.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I'll be nice to through the live oh, who's here? Mary's here. Who's here? Good to see Victoria. For dinner. All right. We're gonna do it.
Ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll.
All right, I better go take my seat.
We're gonna do it here. All right.
Go brace myself.
Really?
Pick your seat. Can't pick your friends.
Right. Can't pick a friend, pick a seat. Right. This is not working right.
Where's go?
I can't tell whether I'm on it.
Yeah, you're up on the street.
Yeah, I'm on it. Okay. Is that okay? Hello and goodbye. Parting is such sweet sorrow. And this is why I'm sorry. Absolutely nothing else in Florida makes me sorrowful to leave but this. And I am overjoyed that we have new people coming in all the time, and especially two new people who, if you have not met, you need to meet and get to know. Joe Rollo. Joe is our new acting president who will be functioning as president for the balance of the year. Thank you, Joe.
Looks like him.
Right.
My name is Joe Rollo. I'm currently living in Northport, managing a supermarket. I've been in the aquariums and reptile industry for a little over 3 decades. Always involved in some way, personally, professionally, wholesale, retail, a little bit of everything. Most recently, I was president of the Fort Myers Aquarium Society. And I also started a nice club in California in the Bay Area. It's got over 1,000 members now.
Wow.
Meeting close to 1,000 times now. Since,
Wow.
We'll have to get started after COVID because everything else shut down.
Sure.
So I took the effort to do that, and it's going amazing.
Nice. That's
So,
incredible.
I'm happy to serve. I'm honored to be chosen and elected, and for Lou to consider me. And I'm going to be doing whatever I possibly can to make you guys, happy, comfortable, successful, and have a good time. Thank you. Thank you.
Bravo. So Joe also has experience as an auctioneer. We have invited Ray. Yeah, I'm sorry. Ray, thank you. We've invited Ray to come back, and I talked to him 2 days ago, I guess. And he's good. He's willing to do it. He did not want, he was concerned that if he couldn't make it, that it would be a problem. So Joe's agreed to step in as auctioneer. So Ray will be coming in to do the auctions. When he gets here, he'll be doing auctions. He's not here tonight. He thought he might be able to make it, but I guess he hasn't. He may yet show up. When he doesn't, then Joe will be doing the auctions. And the other person I want to introduce you to is our gamer in chief, our new techie Paul. There he is. Tell us a little about your experience with clubs, Paul.
I just moved to South Florida from New Jersey. I was a former board member of North Jersey Aquarium Society for 10 years and board member for Jersey Shore Aquarium Society for about 8 years. So I have plenty of experience with clubs and worked for pet stores, owned my own business when I was there. So I still have access to all of that, all different fish from the knockout, right? And yeah.
Tell us some of the people you know who we might be able to get in as speakers.
I'm going to try to ask Dr. Paul Weisel, the former curator of the New York very good friends with him. I used to see him all the time. And I can ask around at North Jersey and Jersey Shore if there's anyone else who would want to do something virtual, because it's just easier for them. I can ask maybe Rosario Report, another person from North Jersey, if he might be interested. And he's known for tetras and rainbow fish. A couple tetras he identified named after him. So,
Nice, thank you, Paul. And he did this with no intervention on my part because he knows how to do it and I don't. So it was such a relief to just watch it come alive without sweating over it. So Paul's going to be taking over the techie aspect, the newsletter, keeping us online. We will be able to continue to stream our club meetings. So we turn back to me. Look, I don't even know how to use a camera. I've been doing YouTube for 2 years, and I haven't a clue what I'm doing. And this is just falling. Well, we have a cake. Did you see that cake?
Yes, beautiful.
Isn't that wonderful? Thank you so much, ladies, for the beautiful cake. Make sure everybody gets a piece. Oh, all right. So I want to get our time straight here. Why don't we introduce people who either are new or have not been here for a while, folks who we need to get, and we'll start right here.
Hi, dear.
There's Daryl.
I haven't been here for before COVID and stuff. So.
Yeah, been a couple of years, I guess. Yeah, welcome. Nice to have you. Daryl's active in the Tampa Bay Club, very active, along with Bill and a bunch of other people who are here.
I'm the treasurer of 3 clubs.
You're treasurer at 3 clubs.
Chili Club and Coastal. So I'm very active in.
Coastal, Chile, and Tampa Bay.
I'm also a member of Tampa Bay.
Right, right. We have a backup. Let's see, over here.
I would love to come here every I've been here like probably 3 years on and off, and I'm from Rockport, and it's crazy to see how you guys grew like over the years. Like, I think it's like triple or something.
Yeah, we're coming along. This is a nice crowd. Look at this. We're about to fill the place out. We've reached the point here where 10 more people will force us into the ante room, I think. 2 more tables and we're going to have to stretch our wings. Ladies in the back table, introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, Brooke. This is Alicia and Abigail. We've only been in the fish for a couple of years, but we were invited to the meeting, so we thought we'd check it out.
Nice. So where are y'all from?
Like Port Charlotte area.
Port Charlotte. Good. How'd you get here? Who invited you? Joe. Right, of course. Excellent. Nice to have you with us. What kind of fish do you keep?
Freshwater, but a lot of different kinds.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. What's your favorite? I can never answer that question.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Right. Nice to have you here, ladies. All the way in the back. Who's back there?
I'm Sprout. This is my second meeting. I got invited last month by Joe, and I have been doing fish pretty much my whole life, but I feel like I know nothing because it's
Perfect.
changed so much.
Perfect.
We never had
Me
plants
too.
before, so now actually you got me started with plants several years ago when your store was closed, and you gave me some plants, and that got me kind of interested in
Oh,
the
terrific.
plants, so thank you very much for that.
You bet.
And I'm just learning as much as I can.
Nice.
So
Nice. Who's that in the blue shirt back there?
It's an old fart like you.
Ain't that the truth? Danny from Wet Pet. It's in Sarasota, right? Daddy came to me when I was running Father Fish. And he said he wanted to open a pet shop. And I said, no, don't do that. Come in with me. Buy my pet shop. We'll do it together. He didn't want to do that. He wanted his own pet shop. So he did everything I told him not to do. And he's been a flaming success. So, appreciate you, Danny. In front of Danny, who are these? Are some Fort Myers people here with Paul? Yeah, introduce yourselves.
My name's Megan, the president of Fort Myers Aquarium Society.
Oh, nice.
And we have Carlos, vice president,
Hi, Carlos.
and a few of our members.
Wonderful, a few members. Good to have you guys. Let's see. Val, you were talking about? Was it you? Somebody on the board said we need to go visit Fort Myers. We do. We need to go visit Fort Myers. Let's jump to the back, all the way to the back of the room.
That would be here.
Right. And what did you just show me on your phone?
Our son,
Your son, who is where?
he's in Spain right now.
He's in Spain. And we just had a little conversation. That was delightful. And you're going the end of the month, huh?
We're going to be there in 10 days.
Going to be there in 10 days. How long?
Per month.
For a month. Wow. Nice. Have a wonderful time. I see a face back there hiding in the corner, trying to be inconspicuous. Who is that back there? I don't know who you are. What's your name? Adam. Nice to see you, Adam. Who'd you come with? Oh, okay. What kind of fish you keep, Adam? A lot of cichlids. Big ones, little ones? All of the above. And you need to get together with Andy. Where's Andy? Here he is right here. Andy just acquired a dozen full-grown Bacardi and full-grown Dovai, and they are in mint condition. The Bacardi are a foot long. They're big, beautiful fish. He's got about 6 of each, I think. And gentlemen, with Chris, let's see, there's one new person here alongside Bill.
That's William. He's come just for the meal deal. $35 was a great deal. He doesn't keep it. He shares butchers.
Come for the meal. Come for the meal. That's a good idea. Good deal. Dennis, okay. And we have another old fart up here who's got his back turned toward me. Barney! Welcome, Barney.
Well, I'm here because you're not going to be here anymore, and I came just to pay my respects.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Barney had a meeting room lined up for us before this came through. And then Chuck trumped him because this is not nicer. It's every bit as nice, but it's also free. So it was kind of a win-win for us. And we got a bunch of old timers up here and over here, and we're back. I would like to introduce, who's that in the corner? Hi. Good. How are you? Introduce yourselves.
My name is Alex.
Alex?
Becky.
What?
This is Becky.
Becky. Hi, Becky.
We're hobbyists.
You're hobbyist. What do you keep? What do you have?
Rainbow fish, threaded rainbow fish.
Thread rainbows. Nice.
Yes.
And some plecos and koi cats.
All right. All right. Fun.
Where are you from? Venice, Florida. That's right, Venice. Yeah. Yes.
Nice to have you guys here. Appreciate you. Welcome. All right. I want to introduce to you our speaker for the evening, known to all of us a man who really needs no introduction,
They see the posters.
who's a good friend, been around with us since we've been here, Bill Shields. Thank you, Bill, for coming up and being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, come on over. I'm gonna hold the camera for you. That's all right. Paul,
Oh, we ready to do it?
we need your help.
Tech guy. You're good, that's the first slide.
I just want to make sure it's. And is that working?
Alright. Well, tech guy's figuring things out. The first slide before I get into my talk tonight, this involves all of us. This is at the federal level.
Thank you. Oh,
The House put a bill forward. It was called the America Competes Act. It has nothing to do with animals. However, as things go in Washington, they put amendments in. Okay, there's umpteen amendments in there that have nothing to do with the America Competes Act body of the language. What it would do would eliminate most of the animals we keep,
Oh.
fish, reptiles,
can you do two?
birds. And us, the fish people, some of us are local animal people, I have all kinds of animals, but fish, the biggie is you couldn't transport
Try
across
and
state
share
lines.
screen.
This is Florida. This was sponsored by, I don't know how involved he was, our Senator Marco Rubio, who would not answer any of the people who tried to contact him and say, you need to get this out.
He wrote the amendment.
He wrote the
Do a
amendment.
share
There you go.
screen.
Yeah, I wrote them, people wrote them, I'm a nobody
Yeah.
to him, but the people in the industry tried to contact him, the staffers wouldn't communicate with him. It's still not working. However, when a bill comes from the House, it goes to the Senate. So it goes to the Senate, and they talk about it, and then they have a deal where they come together and figure out what's gonna get through, and that's what stage it's in now. At this point in time, the Lacey Act stuff is not in it. Lacey Act, it's a good thing, but what they're trying to do is give carte blanche to anything that they put a whitelist out. The whitelist is PetSmart, any of the box stores. Those are the
Go
fish you're
back
gonna see.
to,
You're not
go
gonna
back to
see
the,
fish because they say
yeah,
you can't
It's
import them
sharing.
unless they meet a
look
minimum
right here.
number of previous year. They never give the number.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're ever gonna enforce it. They can't enforce a whole lot now. But it would make us all criminals to transport fish, to share fish across state lines, and mammals and reptiles. That's still not working. Had a similar project. I gave a talk at the club when we were at the Audubon, and I think it was on live, maybe it's a Jason talk on feeding fish and food. The guy didn't show up with the projector. I got a 17-inch
Wow.
I got a 17-inch laptop, so I think Bill was in the front row. It was a very limited, because
Just do
I'm a
him.
17-inch one.
Oh,
You ready?
just do him.
And say, do you have, this is just another drive,
Oh,
it's not.
oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong one. See, the IT guy figures all this stuff out. Hey, IT guy. Okay, good job, Paul.
Try.
No, I guess probably recognize him. Anyhow, I gave the whole talk on a 17-inch screen, which is, really throws you off stride because I could barely see the screen, much less the people in attendance. It's on, it's got juice.
I just need to.
You know, it's really nice watching somebody else stumble around.
But anyhow, hopefully the, anyhow, if this thing goes through, if they don't put it back in, it's okay, because the bill as it stands. Besides, who knows what the other amendments are for, but it won't impact us. At this point in time, it's not in.
Could you go over the, because this is an amendment to the existing Lacey Act. If this goes through, can you review the penalties for both an individual and a business?
I don't know what the penalties are. I haven't read what the penalties are. It makes you a criminal if you interstate
So it's,
transport.
so it's a federal offense, and what I've looked at, from memory, for an individual, it's $5,000, up to $5,000 per violation, and that could be per fish, not 30 fish, that's 30 violations per. 30
Also,
fish.
if this thing gets put away and we don't have to worry about the federal, the state is now, the FWC is trying to do it for the state. So you need to get a hold of DeSantis or the FWC and tell them what a injurious thing this would be, not only for us obvious, but for the industry.
That would be under Florida Fish and Wildlife then?
Yeah.
Worry about the more invasive snakes.
Their listing of invasive is anything that's not on the white list is de facto considered an invasive. And fish, like you just got, maybe GOODBY, with the chloride, they might not have been imported in what their number is the previous year, making it injurious.
Which they won't tell you how many that is.
They won't tell you how many
If
that
it's
is.
never imported, then it never will make the list, the right list.
Right. So it has a lot of implications for the industry. This is a big industry in the state.
I better hurry up and sell
Yeah.
I think the other thing is.
Well, you just have to do like all the criminals.
You still can
Not every across the board.
The individual.
them. Here's the, I have like maybe 4 that are.
So we can-
ideas.
If I can advance it just by clicking. Hey, tech guy. No,
Has to,
He was talking about GOODBY.
you gotta be,
might have to have the right here.
Not what they are. Whites are real hateful,
Or once I get someone else.
sorry, you got a screen up on the top there.
Really nice fish.
Okay, there we go.
All
You
right.
got, well, we'll stand here. We won't take any chances.
Paul,
All right, that's where it stands now. It's not in the amendment, or the bill that's being,
is the StreamYard still live? I assume it is. Okay.
also a happier note.
Are they gonna be able to
Some
see
of us in
this?
the room, Mr. Demery, Mr. Skidmore, and myself are going to the Triple Crown Convention. This is a first-time deal. This is a combination of all the clubs. Well, not all the clubs, but the Killifish Club, Cichlid Club, Live Bear Club, and I guess the Rainbows are gonna have a presence also. Not as big. Anyhow, that's July 27th to 31st. We get to see Rusty. I don't know if everybody know Rusty Russell? We're getting to go in his fish house. So that's
Nice.
part of the thing. It's a lot of fun. If you've never been to a national convention, I highly recommend it. And there's as much stuff about me as I'm older than Joe, so I've been in it for a long time. I also was in retail stores. I ran 3 Dr. Pet centers up in Pennsylvania. But a hobbyist, I started 70 years ago when I was 6. So I'm an addict. My name's Bill.
Hi, Bill.
I'm addicted to all fishes, okay? I especially like killifish and live bears and natives, but I got them all, so it's a sickness. I have 60 tanks at the house. Well, of course, I got some
Tell them
ponds
about
and
your
stuff.
big pond.
Well, my big pond, I have a 20,000 gallon koi pond, which has hundreds of koi in it. I started with 11 and have hundreds now. I whittle it down every year. When they spawn, I only save about 20. I I'm not in the business of selling fish. I'm not doing fun stuff, but first time I did it, I probably ended up with 3,000. Way too many. Also, I've been around a long time, so after I got out of the pet stores, I went into raising
Oh.
Asian elephants. I was a midwife for an Asian elephant herd. I delivered 27 baby Asian elephants. That one was probably 3-4 hours old. Nobody said it this time. When I show that picture, I always show an elephant picture when I give talks. Everybody says, "Who is that?" So, okay, so I'm fatter and got gray hair
The
and
live
beard.
stream,
Okay,
see
that was in 1987.
Was that
Or
in
91. That was 91.
Was that located in the States?
I worked at Circus World for old timers in Florida. I was at Circus World. I was always with the same herd. Went to
Yes.
Circus World. When they closed, we went to Busch Gardens. When they decided to become Roller Coaster World, we went to the Ringling Elephant breeding facility, out almost where Circus World was, out on I-40, Highway 27. Polk City is where it is. It's gone now.
Good, okay. Yeah,
Shipped
great.
them up. Okay, now we'll get to the actual fish talk. This is kind of something we're going to talk about. Lou was, well, I'll talk about anything. So, okay. What I feed my fish.
Perfect.
I got a lot of fish. I got thousands of fish, maybe more than that, who knows. And I feed a variety of foods. I feed high quality foods. And how many times a day do you feed your fish? If you're just a hobbyist having a tank that you want to look at, you can feed them every other day. You're not trying to breed fish, not trying to get maximum growth out of them. That helps with the water quality, and the fish do fine. Now, this third line, what's show up there? Overfeeding, lack of proper filtration, accompanied by poor water change schedule. I call that job security. I was a breeder at one of the biggest fish farms in Florida for my last 15 and a half working years, or paid for working years, I should say. Yeah, but if you didn't kill fish, I produced so many fish. I put out the ponds between 30 and 35 million fry a year. Now, they all didn't come in, but 60-70% of them did. My allocation for zebra danios, I had to have 2 million in the ground at all times. What do you do? A zebra daniel lives like forever, right? Or the tetras live a long time. I mean, people kill fish, they go back and buy more. Because they're not exposed to a hobby organization, which helps you get through all the pitfalls of keeping aquarium fish. And I've been doing this. I've been in the organized hobby since the mid-70s. I learn something every time I come to a meeting and hear a speaker.
Amen.
Every time. I mean, it's not I always learn something. Or going to somebody's fish house or the fish room, I always learn. I steal a lot of ideas. I mean, that's the whole thing. Sharing. Okay, here's a disclaimer. That's kind of weak. And this is with all fish information and techniques and YouTube or internet crap, whatever you want. If it works the way you're doing it, stick with it. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just showing you how I do it, and I'm very successful doing it. I made a lot of money doing it. Yeah, there are many paths to being successful. Some people change water every day. I mean, it depends on what your goals are and what you want to do with your fish. Some people have one tank and are very happy with that. I can't see that, but a lot of people can be satisfied with that one tank approach. I can't because, then you got baby, you got to have another tank, and it's MTS, multiple tank syndrome. Strikes us all. These are live foods I've used. Whole variety of them: Amphisoria, vinegar eels, brine shrimp, brindle worms, white worms, fruit flies, mosquitoes, daphnia. Neighbors aren't always happy about the mosquitoes because they're outside. I always don't harvest them. Red wigglers, blackworms, mealworms, scuds, feeder fish, and snails. I have it's probably about 16-year-old South American lungfish, and he eats snails by the handful. A cup. I feed him a cup every other day because I got a lot of snails in my tank. Live foods I'm currently using, because I have a lot of baby killifish now and a lot of baby live bears: green water, vinegar eels, microworms, baby brine shrimp, daphnia. Mr. Vic back there gave me daphnia 2.5 months ago. I'm 2.5 months not killing them, which for me is an accomplishment. I usually kill them about the 2-month mark. They're still going strong. Mosquito wigglers you got all the time. Grindle worms, mine are kind of they come and go. They're kind of at a lull right now, but they're still in there, so I'll build them back up. And I feed plant material too, driftwood for my bushy nose. They love to graze on the plants. Zucchini, they love zucchini. Duckweed, I grow duckweed like a commercial farmer and feed it to my koi. I call it I don't have lids in all my tanks. The duckweed is an effective lid because it's half-inch thick. And killifish jump, they jump like crazy. So I don't have to put a lid on and play with open and close it. And frozen foods, I just don't use live. I use Aquarium bloodworms, which I buy at the FTFF co-op store, and they're about $8 a pound now. Public seafood medley, I supplement that for my lungfish. He loves it. It's got squid and some little clams and shrimp in there, and he absolutely goes crazy on that. And because of my friend, Mr. Skidmore there, we have a lady, Jenny Kuchner, Pluckenberg in Michigan, who goes out in the wintertime and collects glassworms for us. So we always buy a chunk and split the cost. And the fish love those also. Prepared foods. I use prepared foods too. I don't believe in feeding only one type of food. I use Aquamax 600 for the koi, which is a kibble size pellet. And I also feed that to the guppies, the live bearers. You put it in there, it floats, and they can nibble on it until it's all gone. And they like to keep eating all day. I use flake food. You can use any kind of flake food you want because if you vary your diets, it doesn't really make that much difference. Well, I got the picture of Northfin up there, Bug Pro, but fluvial makes a bug bite. It's black fly larva. The fish goes nuts for it. This one, the Nutrifin, they have salmon meal mixed in with it. They still love it. My bushy nose, my 125 gallon tank, I put it in the middle. Every bushy nose in there will come out to the middle before it hits the bottom. They know, they love it. But either one, and they run out, supply side, they run out of fluvial, so I had to buy off the internet the bug bites. Comes in like a 3-pound container. Rapashi, I don't know if you've ever used the gel foods. Anybody in here use gel foods? Yeah, it's also a great food, especially for bushy noses or any fish, really. We mix it up. They make umpteen different formulas. I mix them together. Give everybody a variety pack. And you mix it, and it's a gelatin, and you cut it in chunks, throw it in, and it's very easy to feed. And this one here, American BP. When I was at the farm and I was raising the neon dwarf rainbows, they're very tiny fry, and I had to keep them inside for a month. American BP is a micro-encapsulated food. It floats, or you can mix it in the water column. What it doesn't do, like Cyclops E's or APR, it doesn't jack the ammonia up instantly. I did tests when I was at the farm. And those other two overnight would jack the ammonia level up to where it was almost killing the babies. This stuff doesn't. It's good stuff. Oh, before I go, I brought samples of vinegar eels, microworms, the bug bites, the American BP, and microworms over there, and also decapsulated brine shrimp. So the club can do what they want with that. They want to hand them out to people or sell them for $1 or whatever. Live foods for fry. I think this is a super important thing to get them off to a healthy start, a quick start, and that's what we did at the farm. They're put in a pond that is cycled. It's green water. It's full of infusoria. They can't move without running into food. We also supplemented that. That's one of the baby koi picture I took. Long time. I can't find the camera I took that with. That's a little thing we got from Jeff Carter. Remember those, Brian? The little ones, $80. I think it was like a fantastic thing. But I lost it. I don't know. It's in a pile of junk somewhere. First food. If the fish is big enough, Artemia naphtha. Why feed them? They're small size. They're 240 microns. They're nutritious. 55% protein. HUFAs, highly unsaturated fatty acids, which are great for growth, development of baby fish. And movement. It sparks a feeding response. Some fish, cichlids, and stuff, they'll eat anything you throw in there. They'll try to pick it. Some fish don't. They're a little slow at eating. You got that movement, it triggers the feeding response. Additional bonus to Artemia natula is they're indiscriminate filter feeders. That means that whatever goes past them in the water column, they stick in, they try to digest it. It's digestible. And you can easily gut load them. You can feed them American BP. You can feed them spirulina powder. You can feed them any antibiotics, anything you want to get into your fish, you can feed to them. But you got to wait till after they go through 24 hours. First, it's called instar. They shed their shell because they don't eat the first one. That's when they're most nutritious. But if you want to supplement them, you got to wait over 24 hours. And then they eat. And that's the first instar. They're still absorbing their yolk sacs. And that's what they look like. If people feed baby brine, how many feed baby brine in there? They instantly look like little porkers when you put it in there. They'll eat it until they look like they're going to bust. Now, decapsulating brine shrimp. You know, how many know what decapsulating brine shrimp is? Brine shrimp cyst, anyhow. Okay, well, the deal is when the price of brine shrimp cyst started skyrocketing back in whenever it was when I was still working at the farm, the old method is you throw your teaspoon of eggs in, if that's how much you hatch, and you bubble it, and then after they hatch, 24 hours or so, you let it settle, and then you got some gunk floating at the top, the shells, and the unhatched eggs down at the bottom, and you siphon off the middle of the jar. Well, there's still a lot of viable brine shrimp in that stuff you're throwing down the drain. So when you decapsulate, you take out that shell. So there's no longer a shell there. So even if the eggs don't hatch, number one, there's no debris on the top. And even if they don't hatch, they're edibles, like a hard-boiled egg. And we had a big problem with the baby corridors catfish at the farm. Because whoever was feeding, they were impacting, because they're not a picky eater, they're a stupid feeder. They're eating the shells and getting impacted. I don't know how they did it, but we sent them down to the lab in Ruskin and they dissected them and found out they're getting impacted with the shells from these. So we started decapsulating. I started decapsulating. I said, oh, you know how to do it. You never say you can know how to do anything on a farm. So I did 8 pounds a week. We used a lot. And we'll put this is done with bleach. I did it with bleach and sodium hydroxide at the farm. You don't need the sodium hydroxide. That just speeds up the process. And if you measure everything exactly, you can time it.
Right.
We're on a farm. We don't measure things exactly, so you watch. The biggest problem with it is you overheat, and then you do have hard-boiled eggs. You cook them, or they turn into what we call scientifically pink snot in your jar. You overdid it. For Mike Jacobs, I don't know how many times he tried and how many times I showed him. He could never get it. Yeah, there it is, 8 pounds a week. We hatch them in 5-gallon Zephyr Hills bottles. And we bought from Brine Shrimp Direct. In our club, TBAS gets a discount. I think it's 5%. TBAS 5 is the code. How do you do it? You hydrate the eggs. You put them in the same hatching jar. I use a gallon pickle jars. You put them in there. Fill it up with tap water and bubble it heavily for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Drain them down, put them in same bottle, same jar, half water, half pool bleach. That's 10% bleach. Why it doesn't kill them, these animals are amazing. I mean, anything that takes your skin off.
Really?
Yeah, it makes them better. Then you got to watch. That's when you got to watch the reaction. You can turn them. There's the dry cyst. Like beat up brown ping pong balls. In my equipment, I used to do it. Here it goes. We'll get this. When you first pour the bleach in, takes a second. They start turning white to gray. And then, like I said, if you measured, you can time this. If you don't measure, you got to use your eyeball and watch it. And you can see it goes from the whitish, and they turn pink. And when 95% of them look pink, you stop the reaction. How do you stop the reaction? You can use Prime, any dechlorinator. You can use bleach, or bleach. You use vinegar to neutralize the bleach. Or if I had an 1.5-inch hose at the farm, I just rinsed them with the hose so you don't smell the bleach smell anymore. And then you squeeze them. These are like jellyfish eggs. You're not going to hurt them squeezing them. When they clump up, you're good to go.
I never did that.
And that's what they look like.
Huh.
They look like little round pink marbles, but they're like little ball bearings on your fingers. They just roll around. And those, here's the before and after. Those you can store in your refrigerator. And I use a little Ziploc bag. I do a week's worth at a time. Put them in the refrigerator, they're good to go. If you want to put them in brine solution, there's all kinds of stuff. You don't want to do that. You're not going to decapsulate that many at a time.
No, they don't hatch.
Huh?
They don't hatch.
These hatch.
Oh, okay.
These hatch shorter period of time than if you have the eggs. Yes, absolutely hatch. And that's my secret mixture. 3 tablespoons of salt, a little dab of baking soda, and a little pinch of Epsom salts. You boil them, bubble them at a high volume, and I couldn't really do this because I'm not a tech guy. But that little triangle on the side, you got to have them at an angle if you get using a jar like that. That's why the commercial hatchers are a cone, because it bubbles up from the bottom. If you put it at an angle with the air stone there, it keeps everything in suspension. And that's it. This is my current, I took a picture the other day. This is my current high-tech brine shrimp hatching. Top left is the gallon jar in a 3-gallon bucket. There they're sitting. I'm letting them settle out. Bottom left is all the shrimp settling out, and that's what you get. That's them out. Last winter, because I hatched these outside, I got the 3-gallon bucket. I got one of those little Beta, $10 Beta heaters. Because the colder it is, the longer it takes them to hatch. I want to do it on a consistent basis. But one of those little Beta heaters in there, and it keeps it nice and toasty, and they hatch in your same time period. More first foods, and correct size and constant availability. That's a must if you're raising fish and you want to get them up to size in a green water. Fantastic. All my who was doing the rainbows, I use green water for all my rainbow fry because they're tiny fry.
Talk with me now.
There's infusorian in there, plus the algae, they eat
Conversation.
whatever. I just keep it in there. I always got green water. I got buckets laying around everywhere outside. Green water. And that's infusoria. There's all kinds of things in there to eat. I don't look to see what it is. As long as they're eating it and growing, that's fine with me. Then when they get big enough, I start, with the rainbows, I start putting the vinegar eels in. And then I put the baby brine shrimp in when they get big enough, and then switch them off just to baby brine and dry food. Plants are a great source of infusoria. Everybody's got, I can't say it. People should have live plants in the tanks. I don't have any fake plants. I got all live. You take those, or your guppy grass, or your java moss, squeeze it, crush it a little bit, throw it in with the babies. There you go. They're ready. Ready-made food. Fast foods. That was one of my first live foods I fed way back when I first got into organized hobby back in the early 70s. I raised tetras, Serpae tetras. I got a whole tank full of these little tiny babies. I don't know what to feed them. Back then you fed egg yolk. Remember the egg yolk came in a tube?
Great way to
A
kill
little metal
fish.
tube with, holy, you could follow the water so fast. But anyhow, I said, well, I got all these tanks of sponge filters. I'll just squeeze the sponge filters in there. Babies ate. They grew up. Started feeding brine shrimp. Good way to go. And that's what we do at the farm. These are 20,000 gallon ponds at the farm. On the left side is after it's been mucked out. Limes put in there to goose the pH and kill all the harmful critters in there. And then we put cottonseed meal around the edge. It fills in with water from the ground aquifer. And after this time of year, as hot as it is, maybe 5 to 7 days, Water's pea soup green. It's loaded with animal life. Once the pH goes down to 7.2, you can put your babies in and they're off and running. They got food everywhere they go. But even then, we supplement it with baby brine shrimp for the first 2 weeks.
Huh.
And even in a 20,000 gallon pond, you take a big brine shrimp net and run it along the edge, and you find little pink belly babies in there. They seek it out. Here, a 5-day-old black catfish. I never, except the rainbows, I never fed anything inside. They went from being bred hatched. They went right out in the ponds. That's 5,000 black tetra fry. Put 30 to 35,000 in a pond. Vinegar eels. That's the brown water. You can use any kind of vinegar. It's best to use just a filtered apple cider vinegar because it's clear. But with the supply side, I had to use organic, which costs a whole lot more money. But it's cloudy and you really can't see them. It still works. And this is a food you should always have available. Always. You can't kill them. We won't mention any names, but most people can't kill them. I started the original culture I got from, I don't even know who I got it from anymore, when we did our first AKA convention, because we're doing a live food table back in 2000. That culture's still going. I did it in a 5-gallon Zephyr Hills. After the convention, I very carefully put it in the garage, and it cooked out there and froze out there for the intervening years, and I felt bad, so I moved it out in the lanai, same thing. But they're ready to go. Even when they diminish, all you got to do is get rid of half the culture media, put some fresh sliced apple in, and they're off and running in a week, and you got live food. That stays in the water column. Microworms sink. They go down to the bottom. They're like grindle worms or white worms. They'll sink to the bottom.
How do you harvest your worms? How do you harvest them?
I'm glad you asked that. Well, there's a secret formula. Half apple cider vinegar, half tap water. On the internet, 10%, 80%. Whatever. If it works, it works. Okay. If you're growing the eels in there, it doesn't make any difference. I've been using that for over 20 years. I put a little slice of apple without the peel, because the peels are all the pesticides and whatever junk they spray in apples. So just there's a little slice of apple in there. And there they are. There's a slice of apple on the bottom. Those are bigger jars. I just got the little ones hauling down here. And there you go. You got to put some sort of permeable plug in it so the fruit flies don't get in it, because fruit flies love the smell of the vinegar and the apple. Charlie Rose's harvesting method. He was from just up the road here, down the road, I should say. And he taught us this at a killifish meeting we had at his house. You got to empty the Corona bottle. It has to be empty. You got to make sacrifices. And I stuffed it right at the neck, or he showed us to stuff it right at the neck with filter floss. I've modified that one more step. I put a piece of bamboo down in there to hold it in place. Because sometimes it'll sink down in. That holds it in place. Then you fill it up. You put your culture media in there to that level. Then you fill it up with, I use tap water because vinegar neutralizes the chlorine right away. You fill it up with the water, let it set. I don't know if you can see, but the top is polluted with vinegar eels. I just siphon that out, use a syringe, however you want to do it. And I get probably 3 days worth out of that. My hypothesis is the worms are starting to suffocate, so they come up for air. They want a higher oxygen content, so they come up. And you don't have to worry, we used to do it with, soak a piece of squeegee in there, and fit coffee filters, they go through that. This way, it's pure worms. And the amount of vinegar in there, the acidity is nothing. And I feed that even when I'm hatching the killifish, they're in little tiny containers, so it's never harmed me. There it is, pipette, which Ray used to bring all the time, and I'm down to my last one now, I think. Yeah. So now I use the airline tubing to siphon them out. Oh, there's that showed the MV skewer. All right, and when it starts diminishing, you don't see as many in there. either make another, you should always, any of these live food cultures, you should always have multiple cultures going. And sooner or later, you're gonna lose them. So you want something to start over again with. But you just put fresh vinegar and water in there, a slice of apple, and you're off and running again. Microworms. I love microworms. There's banana worms, microworms. I probably have a combination of them because over the years I've bought them at different clubs, and they all live together. I don't know if they breed together or whatever, but they all in there. They got something wiggling around. Yeah.
There they are.
It's one of the many methods. There's umpteen methods like all this stuff. There's umpteen methods. This one works for me. I got 5 containers going now because I got so many babies to feed. But this was passed on from Hank, who passed it on to Mike Jacobs, who brought it to the Killifish Club and showed us how to do it. And I call it the French toast method. I use a little sandwich container, holds 1 slice of bread. You see the worms crawling up the side. When you get ready to reculture it, you just I mix 2 containers, one with the more thicky, gooey stuff, and one I dilute down with water to get the bread wet. That's the gooey part. Then you put some in there and put water in there. I use spring water then, a bottle of water. Mix them up, get your containers ready. Pour a little of the gooey stuff on the bottom, spread it around, put your slice of bread in there, and then flip it over. That's why I call it the French toast method. You want both sides wet. And then you sprinkle it with your yeast. Which was hard during the pandemic to get yeast. I got so many different kinds of yeast still in the cabinet. I prefer this one because I put it in the refrigerator and let it go. You coat it thoroughly, and then you use the more liquid culture media, and you make sure all the yeast is wet. Because if the yeast isn't all thoroughly wet, it'll mold. You get a fungus in there. Bigger fish, my grindle worms. Mr. Skidmore gave me grindle worms, and I got 3 containers of them going, but they're not quite up to where they were when I had like these pictures. There's, once again, many methods. From Henry de Bruin, our Belgian friend, he taught us a dry method, or just a method on pads, as opposed to the dirt it method, which is on the left. I use Eco Earth for reptiles. It's great stuff. However, when you wet it, the first one I did, I found out you get a whole bucket full with that one. It's really compressed. I bought one the other day because it ran out. It was a smaller cube. It's not quite as compressed as it used to be. Yeah, because the old one you had to saw. The one I bought, you can just break apart with your hands. It's kind of the new thing, shrinkage, I guess. So you don't get as much, but it lasts forever. It's almost free. I feed them fish food. I feed them dog food. Iguana food works real well. For bird food, we got a African gray parrot. I feed his pelleted food. That works great too. But you get really good results with both the dirt and the pad method. Right now, I don't have any pads going. I got them in the dirt. There's filter pads from Lowe's. Cut them up, put them in there. There you go. I mean, every day you can harvest from the thing, from your containers. And that was harvest. One day I had the Achilles we caught down in Peru, and that's a lot of grindle worms. Daphnia. I don't know if I got Polvex, whatever Mr. Bick gave me. I'm still keeping them alive. They're great. You feed them green water. You can feed them the American BP. And spirulina. You can feed them a bunch of stuff. They're filter feeders, so they're like brine shrimp. They just suck it all out of the water. They continue to have babies. There's other foods I've messed with, but it sometimes gets overwhelming when you have so many different cultures going. Store-bought, if you got big fish, you got the Bakota, you got the Dovi you want to feed. If you're feeding fish from a bait store or from a pet store, you always take the chance of introducing disease, parasites. But I got a lot of fish, so I always got culls of my fish to feed. Right now, I don't have anything that really eats fish, but when I did. And that's the, Dave Ramsey's a guy up in Georgia, Atlanta, and he's got some fantastic videos on raising whiteworms. I don't raise whiteworms because I can't keep them in the refrigerator, which you need to keep them in, and we only got the one refrigerator, so I'm not allowed to keep worms in there that she knows about. And with all internet information, check a bunch of different sources and see what the consensus of information is. Because some of these people get on there and they have not a clue. And they just say, so I saw it on TV or on
Right.
YouTube. Substitutes for live frozen food, or for live food, frozen foods, I use a lot of bloodworms. Bloodworms for some of the West African killies is essential because it has selenium in it, and they need a high selenium content in their diet. I don't use brine shrimp. I just watched a talk by Steve Rubicki from Angels Plus. He feeds that exclusively. When I was at the farm, when I started there feeding frozen brine shrimp, but when you melt it down, it's soup. You got the exoskeleton, but there's a lot of soup in there, so I don't know. But that's what he does, and he's been very successful for very many years. He's got fantastic Angels Plus, fantastic angel food. Then mysis shrimp, same problem at the farm. It gets soup. I didn't see that it includes the water, and if you're doing a good water change schedule, I guess it doesn't make any difference. They get enough nutrition to make them good. And prepared foods, if you're feeding a bunch of different prepared foods, they're all going to cover the spectrum of what's necessary for the fish. That's why you don't want to feed exclusively one food. You can create a deficiency in the fish and not even realize you're doing it. Gel foods, hot prepared is rapashi. You use that with hot water. One of our members up in Tampa, Joe Gargis, has a cold gel. It's more stuff, so I didn't really. He'd tell me if I ask him, but he makes it with the turkey breast and this gel, and his contention is when you do hot stuff, all the hot stuff, you're losing some of the nutrition from the food, vitamins and whatever. And here's a little, we mentioned Chuck Davis. Here's a little Chuck Davis. He does a helpful hints one. Stuff I used. Bed Bath & Beyond has these ice cube trays, little teeny quarter-inch ice cubes. When I'm getting ready to go away to the convention, I'll make a whole bunch of those because Mary will put a tag on the tanks that she'll throw however many in that keeps fish from being overfed. That was a great hint. Also, a hint for me, don't use the stuff from the kitchen. Go buy dollar store stuff, because if you get caught using the kitchen stuff, sometimes it doesn't lead to good things. And that's my bloodworms. They come frozen. I use the pizza cutter there because if you got smaller fish, you don't want them trying to swallow something that they can't get in because they can suffocate. So depending on the fish, you go ahead and you can chop it up into little tiny ones. Little tiny fish can eat them when you chop them small. And there's Ray's little pipette. Oops, I can't. Oh, here, yeah, that's the where you went. Yeah, this is a biggie. I got into this myself. Raising live foods can all of a sudden overwhelm you and become the hobby. So are you a hobby live food raiser, or are you just trying to do the best for your fish? I got sucked into it too many times. And we all know what that is. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, have you raised brine shrimp to adult?
I have. Not in quantities, though. I did it for the kids. I used to sell them in the store. I don't know if, Joe, you still sell them, sea monkeys?
I was just thinking of
Uncle Mildy's Ant Farm and sea monkeys. I sold them back in the 70s. It's a little pack. It's got the salt, whatever, in a little package, in a little container. And you got some sort of little powdered food you feed them. No, for the kids, I took a gallon pickle jar, put it on the windowsill in the kitchen, with salt water, my hatching mix, let it get a little green, and I put a couple sea monkeys in there. And they do the thing. They're like Daphnia. They reproduce. You'll always have a couple little ones in there because when conditions are good, they have live babies. When conditions go south, that's when they lay the eggs, and that's when they harvest them at the Great Salt Lake in San Francisco. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But I never did them in quantities because that's, once again, that's a lot of time. You got to have movement. You got to watch the water quality.
Well, you mentioned the sea monkeys, though. I was in the San Francisco Aquarium Society, and we had the person who started that, the originator, the founder, and he talked about in the beginning how successful it was and how how good it was. And I think it was the toy company Mattel bought him out, bought the rights, and coined the term sea monkeys, and did that for a run and made some money, and then sold it back to him.
Oh wow!
And then he was able to continue the business, and now he has like thousands of ponds in hundreds of countries where it's just raising brine shrimp. It's insane.
Under the Mattel name.
What's that?
Under the Mattel name.
Back
The
then, yeah.
little mini aquarium, like the little, it would just magnify the sea monkey.
Yeah.
Just look into it.
They never had clothes on or the hats or the. All righty then.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for coming.
Nice to have you.
All right, we're going to take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll get into our auction for the evening.
There's cake up here.
Taking a break for cake.
Yeah.
A cake break, right. And we're gonna, what time is it? 8:30. So this is my last meeting with the Venice Club. I'm so happy that Nayla Fox is on and chatting away. Nayla is my 12-year-old granddaughter, and she is a delight. She's right now in the Florida Keys with her family. She's in Key West, in point of fact. So I'm going to be going up to Maryland while she's down here in Florida. But we'll get together at the end of the month. Nice to have you here, Nayla. And EJ, good to have you here. EJ's been full of questions this evening. And this is just right up her alley. This is a talk that I know she's delighted about because she's all about live foods. So it was perfect for her. Hey, Chase, nice to see you. Chase has been working with me all day for 2 days, packing so I can move. And we're going to hit the road this evening. So I need to end this now, sadly. Nella is a winner. Yes, Nella is a winner. Absolutely. We'll be on tomorrow night. I don't know quite how, but we're going to be on tomorrow night. So we will see you all then. And I think what we're going to do at this point is end this stream now. I'm finished. Thank you. Just so delighted to be with you. She's 10. Nella is 10. She just acts like she's 12. Yes, please. Chocolate. Her cook just offered me a piece of chocolate cake. Oh dear. All right. Well, God bless you all. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye for now.